Hey, it's Chris, and I'm still basking in the afterglow of the iPhone 11 announcement and event. I've been doing some research, and it's time for me to pick out my next iPhone for the next year. And what I want to do is walk you through my thought process, share some of my research, and really help you compare the different iPhones so that you can make your buying decision as easy as possible. That's the plan. So I'm going to be talking about cameras, displays, battery life, storage, colors, performance, everything in between. And I'm going to link up the timestamps for all of these subjects down below in the description. So go check that out. You can skip around to wherever you want. And then at the end, I'm also gonna mention the iPhone XR and the 8 and some thoughts on those because those are still available as well. Now you might be thinking to yourself, like, Chris, there's only 3 new iPhones to choose from. Like, how hard is this gonna be? Well, you have the iPhone 11 regular, not the Pro, which has 6 different color options and 3 storage options, and a different set of cameras than what's on the Pros. Then you got the Pros that also have 4 color options, 2 different sizes, and 3 different storage options. And then, like I already mentioned, you still have the iPhone 8 and the iPhone XR as options for buying a new iPhone. So yeah, there's a lot to think about here. So the way that I want to tackle this is by asking some questions to you and to me. So when I was putting this video together, these are the questions I was asking myself. And the first question was, how important are cameras to you? Now, obviously, all of the new iPhone 11s have improved cameras, so you can't really go wrong in this department per se. But at the same time, if you're the kind of person who buys a phone and tries to hold on to it for as long as possible, then this could be a really important decision. All right, like take my wife, for instance. She loves to hold on to phones as long as possible, which is the opposite of me. So she still has the iPhone SE. Now, all the pictures she takes of me are of lesser quality than the photos I'm taking of her. So if you have an important subject, like your kids growing up, and this is your camera, your main camera, and you wanna capture that in the best quality that you can over the next several years because you're gonna hang on to this thing, if that's you, then maybe you do want a camera upgrade. Now for me, I consider myself a pro in this sense. Like, I make money off of making videos and uploading them to YouTube. So upgrading the cameras, getting the best array of cameras makes a lot of sense for me. But even if you're not a pro, there's people who are just enthusiastic about iPhones and want to have the latest and greatest thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. The real question for those kind of people is, how enthusiastic are you? Are you enthusiastic enough that you want to spend an extra $300 to have the latest, greatest camera setup? So the iPhone 11 Pros have 3 cameras and just the regular 11 has 2. So the camera that you're missing if you go with the regular iPhone and not the Pros is the telephoto lens. If you just get the regular iPhone 11, you're gonna get a wide angle and an ultra wide, which is great, those are cool. But if you go with the Pro, you're gonna be able to zoom in 2 times and out 2 times, plus have that regular middle perspective. Now, just to help people decide and feel better about whatever direction they go, I do want to say that I really believe that most people are going to be very satisfied with the camera setup on just the regular 11. Now, I do use that telephoto a lot on my XS Max because it's there, it's in front of me. I see the button and I love to zoom in on stuff. But when I switched back to the XR, which I did frequently last year as a tech reviewer, I didn't really miss it. And what I ended up doing was just zooming with my feet, meaning I walked closer to my subject. It wasn't that big of a deal. So it's a nice convenience, but at the same time, you can get along without it. On the other hand, anyone who's serious about content creation, and let's not forget, like, kids these days want to be YouTubers. They want to be content creators. If you're serious about content creation, whether you're making real videos like Tangerine or it's just a hobby, then you are gonna want the upgraded Pro because you can now, thanks to Filmic Pro, shoot multiple angles at the same time using multiple camera lenses, which is just crazy. This is a game changer. On the other hand, whether you get the Pro or the regular iPhone 11, you're still gonna get all the other new features like the new Deep Fusion computational shots, which is amazing sounding, the new night mode, the new improved Smart HDR, the new portrait lighting effects. So software-wise, you're still gonna get all that stuff on either phone. So let me wrap up this camera section by just saying, if you're like me, you have this pull that's like pulling you towards the latest, greatest thing, and it costs more. But I just wanna reiterate that you will be happy, I think, with the cameras on the iPhone 11. When I saw the demo, I said this in yesterday's video, for the iPhone 11, the video capabilities in particular, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I already wanted it before I even saw the Pro's capabilities. So just keep that in mind. The next question that we have to ask ourselves when we're picking out a new iPhone is, how much does the display matter to us? Because if you think about it, the display is really your window into the phone. It's where and how you experience the photos and videos and any games and the text. And so it can really affect how much you get out of your phone experience. Now, the base model iPhone 11 has a liquid retina LCD display. Now, I haven't seen it in person yet, but I know from the panel on last year's 10R that it's not going to be disappointing. I was very happy with last year's, and this is only gonna be better. That said, I just want you to know, you're not really gonna notice the difference between that display and the Pro displays unless they're sitting next to each other. Now, I'm glad to see that the regular iPhone 11 has tap or raise to wake, and if you have an older iPhone and you haven't experienced this yet, it makes a big difference. Like if your phone's just sitting there and you can tap on it to check the time, it's really convenient. And I've switched back and forth. So I switched back to having one that I couldn't tap or like it wouldn't raise to wake, and it's kind of a pain. It's not a huge deal, but it's these little conveniences that are worthwhile. And it also has True Tone and haptic touch, both great things. Now, the display situation on the iPhone 11 Pros, on the other hand, is an entirely different beast or monster. The Pro name really fits these displays, and Apple's actually calling these Super Retina XDR displays. For one thing, these screens are brighter, like a lot brighter. So if you've ever found yourself outside with an older iPhone and it was hard to see the display, to see what was on the screen, this is going to be a huge upgrade. And it's not just that, like it's practical. If you're out taking a photo and it's like noon and the sun's like beating down on your display, to be able to check that photo and see all the details and see how it really turned out without having to go back and check it on a computer, like these things can make a difference. So it's an OLED panel, which means that the colors are going to pop. They're gonna be really rich and bright and saturated, and the blacks are gonna be really inky and dark and like true perfect blacks. And when they work together, those true dark blacks, they really, next to the colors, it makes everything look better because the colors pop more against that dark black. So one place where this is gonna be a big difference between the two different iPhones, the Pro and the regular, is with dark mode in iOS 13, which is coming out right now. So think about dark mode, and then think about dark mode on an OLED screen with those true blacks. This is gonna be way different and way cooler, I think. So for me personally, I am gravitating towards the Pro display here just because I do shoot a lot of video. I'm gonna use it for a lot of video stuff, and I wanna see what I've shot in accurate detail out in the sunlight, whatever. I just want the videos to look great, but I can say this very confidently. Again, based on last year's 10R, if nothing else, I would be very happy living with the regular iPhone 11 screen. It's gonna look great. All right, so next, let's talk about size and battery life at the same time, because they kind of go hand in hand this year. So the iPhone 11 has a 6.1 inch screen, while the iPhone 11 Pro has a 5.8 inch screen, and the Pro Max has a 6.5 inch screen. So the question is, which one is better for you? So the Pro models get 4 or 5 hours of extra battery life over the regular 11, respectively, depending on their sizes. And I have a feeling that's gonna be more of a deciding factor for people when it comes to the sizes than just how it fits in their hand or pocket, because that's a big difference. Now, the iPhone 11 says that you're gonna get all-day battery life, which, okay, you know, with the iPhone 10R, as I was using that a bit last year, I really ran it down under 20% every day, and sometimes under 10%. It was getting really close to killing that battery. Now, I'm a power user, and I don't think everybody is. Most people probably aren't, and so keep that in mind. But at the same time, if I can get extra battery, I really want it, and that's something that the Pro models really deliver on this year. Now, every year as a tech reviewer, I tend to kind of oscillate and flip between getting the smaller version and a larger version and kind of living with it so that I can report back to people. And I've had the Max version last year, and it's time for me to switch back to that smaller version, but I'm having a little bit of trouble with that because of the battery life. I want the best battery life that I can get, but at the same time, I think 4 hours really is going to be enough of a boost for me. That's gonna take me past when I'm headed to bed, and it'll be all good then. To be honest, the whole year as I was using the Max, I was kind of looking forward to going back to a smaller display, a screen size, because the thing's just so clunky. And by the time you slap a case on that max version, it's taking up so much space in your pocket. It's just, I don't know, it's clunky, it's cumbersome a little bit. Now, one thing that I do want to say is there's no disputing that that bigger screen is much better for editing things like photos or videos. So if those are two things that you're going to be doing, if you're doing any kind of creation, social media or otherwise on your phone, that bigger screen is better, period. But it's just a trade-off. Is it worth that extra space? I mean, if you're gonna be enjoying your free year of Apple TV Plus that's included when you buy certain Apple products now, maybe it's worth it to enjoy it on this bigger, nicer screen. All right, let's talk about storage next. And storage is one of those things that can literally make your iPhone experience either more or less frustrating. Because every year I run into people who get the lowest storage option, and then later they're complaining about not being able to store all their photos. Like, I know people who delete old photos just so they can take photos because they don't want to sign up for iCloud. It's crazy. Now, I do want to, at this juncture, point out a cool product that I ran into recently called the Hyper Cube. I'll link it up down below, along with some other similar products that you can check out. And what it does is charges your phone and lets you offload pictures. It's kind of like your own little personal cloud in the form of a USB plug, a charger. And so that is an option if you plan on going the cheaper route when it comes to storage. There are some workarounds. And I mean, iPhones can do things like offload apps that haven't been used in a while and then reinstall them whenever you click on it, it's time to use it. But personally, I find that really frustrating. Like, when I want to use an app, I want to use it right now. I don't want to wait for it to download. And if you're on LTE and maybe you have bad coverage because you're not like in your home base area, then it can go really slow. So I don't know. That's a pain for me, for someone who's on my iPhone a lot. And if you can avoid it, I would recommend it. For me, the lowest possible amount of storage I would go with is the middle amount, 128 gigs. You can live with 64. It's not as fun. I would at least go with 128 if you can swing it. On the other hand, does anybody need 256 gigs of storage? Well, the answer is some people may want or need that. Like, if you're really into gaming, for instance, games are some of the biggest apps that you can install. Some of them are absolutely huge, enormous. And that's why you always used to get that error that said you need to be on Wi-Fi to download this huge app. If you're like a hardcore gamer, and keep in mind, Apple Arcade is right around the corner here. If you're really wanting to experience a bunch of those games for that low price of $5 per month for the whole family, that's actually a pretty good price, then you may want some extra storage because you really don't want to be swapping out like big, huge apps that you may want to play again later to delete it and have to re-download it, you know? So for some people, yeah, this is worth it. All right, a quick little blurb about performance. I don't need to have a whole section about this because here's the real honest truth. iPhones are usually like 2 years ahead of any Android phone in the performance department. It takes Android phones a couple of years to catch up to where Apple is always at. Apple's kind of always ahead. This is where they can really kind of brag about the speed of their silicon. So look, all of the iPhones are really fast, they're gonna perform awesome, and you don't even need to worry about it, whichever iPhone you go with. All right, let's talk about color, which I kind of saved towards the end here because honestly, it's probably just about the least important thing when you're buying this, although I know there's people out there who just care about the color, and that's cool, like go for it. But the real question here is very simple. Do you want something that's lively and colorful, or do you want something that's more buttoned down and serious? Because that's kind of the difference between the 11 and the Pros. So the iPhone 11 colors are very playful, they're fun, they pop, they stand out. This is the option you want to go with if you want people to notice you and or your phone, because it's like, look at me. And thankfully this year, Apple has some clear cases right off the bat that you can get if you want an official case, so you can see through and still protect your phone, but still have that color shining out at everybody for you and those around you to enjoy. Now the Pro colors, on the other hand, are much more subtle and understated, as we've kind of come to expect from the top tier phone. It feels like Apple's been doing a Pro phone for the last couple years, even though it hasn't been named that, just based on the color schemes. But anyways, it's kind of like, yeah, I have an iPhone and it's the best iPhone, but I don't need to rub it in your face. You're not necessarily gonna know it. It's kind of like somebody who buys a red Lamborghini, like they want to be seen, versus somebody who still buys an expensive car, like maybe a Maserati, but they get it in black or something kind of understated, like a little bit more of a classier move. I I have to say, when it comes to the iPhone 11 colors, I'm not really into the green, purple, or yellow this year because they're just really soft and not really my style, which means for me, I'd be more drawn to the white or the black. But you know what? I'm getting kind of sick of the white and the black because it's like what I'm always drawn to every year. And I kind of wish there was some different shades of these new colors to check out, honestly. If I had to pick between those, I'd probably go with the white just because I've had a black one recently. It's time for a change, but also I just really like that it pops, it's light, it's bright, it's kind of pure, I like it. For the Pro, I kind of feel like I'm stuck with either the white or black there too, potentially. I'm really not digging the gold. I know some people love it, but it's just not really my thing. That new green, that deep green, that forest green, is kind of weird. Like, it's not something I would have expected them to come out with as a phone color. And part of me is like, I want to try the new thing, but I also don't want to get screwed by getting something that I don't actually end up liking. So this is the kind of thing, if you're thinking about it, I would probably recommend to go check it out in store. Like, go to the Apple Store, go to Best Buy, maybe do the AR demo and at least kind of try it out on your desk or something. But I don't know. I could see myself going with it because I want it to have like the new thing, but also not liking it. So I don't know. Maybe the white, maybe the black. I don't know. All right, so let me just mention very briefly that you can still buy the iPhone 8 and the iPhone XR. If you're looking to save a little bit of money, but still get into the Apple ecosystem, maybe you busted your old phone, you don't have a coverage plan, you just need a replacement, you can still buy these two older models. Now, that's cool. Like, they're a lot cheaper than the new iPhone 11s, and so it's a great option. I'm glad Apple is having these options available. The thing you have to consider, the main thing here, is updates in the future. You know, I think, was it last year, Apple was supporting like the 5 latest iPhone models for their update schedule. And so the older the phone that you buy, the less long that you're going to be able to use it, if that makes sense. So if you buy an iPhone 11 today, then you're gonna be able to use it longer if that's your goal, instead of trading it in every year, every 2 years. If you wanna use it longer, you're gonna be able to do that with a newer phone, which is kind of a bummer because if you're trying to save money, you may end up having to purchase more often if you get one of these older phones. But at the same time, they're less anyways. So by the time you purchase like 2 of these every couple years, you're spending less probably than a brand new phone. So maybe that doesn't even matter. But that's just something to keep in mind, is the update schedule. Of the two, if I had to pick, I would definitely go for the XR for only $70 more. I mean, if you're gonna spend this range of money, go for that extra $70 if you can, because I really enjoyed that phone. In fact, if you go look at my XR review, I shot it on a XR. I had 2. And one that I was showing off and one that I was shooting with. And the quality of that camera was really impressive, really great. People said it was better than my usual camera that I shoot with. So yes, I think you can definitely be very happy with the XR. You still get some great colors, and you get a better screen that takes up, you know, more of the actual space. You don't have the forehead and chin of the iPhone 8. So that would be my choice. On the other hand, I think the reason to go with the 8 is if you're looking to get in really cheap to the Apple ecosystem, you still want to use an Apple Watch, maybe, and you can do that with the iPhone 8 and just kind of get your foot in the door and get started with the Apple ecosystem. I think it's a good starting spot if that's where you're at. All right, yes, so that is it for this video. I'm probably gonna chop up some of this stuff and put it on our Clips channel, so make sure you're subscribed to that if you want future tidbits of full DailyTekk videos. Don't forget you can follow us on social media, DailyTekk, spelled Daily T-E-K-K, on Instagram and Twitter. Check out the videos I've listed down below, the iPhone videos, because there's a lot there for you to digest as you start looking at your next iPhone. Let me know what questions you have down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.